Hello and welcome to the Circling the Bases podcast. My name is DJ Short and I'm back here with my co-host Drew Silva. We're live on Twitch right now, so welcome to our audience there. If you're listening in podcast form or watching later on YouTube, we're recording Thursday night, June 23rd at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. The NBA draft going on right now, among other things. Kind of a light slate with baseball tonight, only 3 games. There were some afternoon games, and we'll get into that in a minute. But for today's show, we're actually going to talk a little Pittsburgh Pirates. It's been a little while since...
Finally, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while since then. That's been at the top of minds for fantasy managers and nationally, baseball fans in general. But we thought this was a good time to do it with Oneil Cruz's return to the majors this week. And in order to do that, we're happy to have Jason Mackey, Pirates beat writer for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette with us. Jason, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure.
Yeah, so like I was saying, this afternoon, the Pirates had a walk-off win against the Cubs. They kind of got beat up the night before, but Michael Chavis played hero this afternoon, had the game-tying homer, the walk-off single in the 10th for the win. It was dampened somewhat with Ke'Bryan Hayes, got a bit shaken up at home plate, collided with Roansy Contreras there on the slide in the home plate. How are things looking with Hayes right now?
As I understand them, pretty good. I was texting with a source close to Hayes not long ago, and he basically used the term a little bit sore, all good. Imaging they took on Hayes, I believe, came back negative. Derek Shelton said after the game that he talked to Hayes, and Hayes seemed to be, in good spirits and no worse for wear. It was an ugly play. I mean, you guys saw it. The way Hayes went in, it was like his shoulder connecting with Contreras' shin guard, like easily away. You could separate your shoulder or something, and then Hayes kind of rolled over on his back, and he was just like looking up at the sky, and I thought, oh, no, is he concussed? Like, did something worse happen? And it was a weird celebration, right? Like, that was the walk-off win. That was the run. He was very clearly safe. They start, like, setting off fireworks and playing music, and credit to the people in PNC Park. They realized that soon after, like, okay, let's tone this down a little bit. And it was not an excitable mood or anything like that. But yeah, I think Hayes is going to be fine. They'll see how he looks, tomorrow, how he feels. If he got the day off, it wouldn't surprise me. That's sort of the trend, what they've been doing with him. But I don't think it's anything too serious.
He did have a big home run earlier in the game. And someone tweeted that I think it was the first time that Hayes and Brian Reynolds had homered in the same game.
I was the one that tweeted that.
Yeah, okay. I thought so. Man, one observation I have about the Pirates right now is, and I follow all of their beat writers on Twitter. It's kind of part of our job to like track news in that way. And a lot of times over the past few years and even this year, you guys were very focused on the minor leagues, which makes sense. It's a team that's in a rebuild and there's a lot of exciting young talent, but I feel like it's shifted now to where, there's a big focus on the major league roster, which is really exciting with Cal Mitchell and Ke'Bryan Hayes taking another step forward in his, I guess this is his sophomore kind of season. Obviously Oneil Cruz, we'll get to him. He looks incredible. It must be exciting to kind of like flip the script as a beat reporter to where you're really focused on the major league roster. I mean, you always have been, but like even more so now, and there's some excitement around the team at least.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Trust me, I live it. I go through this with people all the time. Like our job as beat writers, our job as the Post-Gazette or any outlet covering the team, you want to provide interesting content, stuff people want to read. And until this year, that stuff has come in the minor leagues. And so I know, me personally, my bosses, we have supported a plan where we go on the road and cover minor league stuff. We've been down to minor league camp a bunch. The Pirates have been great with opening that stuff up to us, both with players, coaches, team staffers, whatever. From a readership standpoint, that's been what people have engaged with the most, the rebuild and trying to tell those stories. And so that's been really fun. But like you said, it's sort of trickling up to the major league roster now where Oneil Cruz, I joked with somebody today, I could write about his genes right now. And like somebody would legitimately be interested in that stuff. And that's cool. I mean, they should be. He's a fun player. He's a talented player. He's somebody who's going to get them noticed on a national stage. And we're seeing the beginnings of that. I think the Pirates are in a pretty good spot with the talent they have in the minor leagues, how they've revamped developing. those players, and they've drafted well. I mean, I can't criticize them for that. They've gotten good players in the organization. They just haven't gotten a lot out of them. They're seemingly changing that stuff. But there's all kinds of reasons to be excited. Roansy Contreras has looked really good. They've got a bunch of good pitchers in Double-A. Oneil Cruz, Cal Mitchell, Jack Suwinski. These guys have sort of come up here, and they haven't been intimidated. They've been able to fit right into the culture that the Pirates have created. And they're winning some games. I mean, give Derek Shelton some credit. I mean, they're not going to compete for a division title. They're not a playoff team, but they, in a few ways, are punching above their weight right now. It's actually halfway impressive.
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of Pirates this week, and I think a lot of baseball fans have, because there's so much excitement there. One thing I noticed is the players celebrating with each other, these young players who've played together throughout the minor leagues. You see Bligh Madris hit his first home run, and you see Jack Suwinski, jumping on top of him, Cal Mitchell. These are guys who may get sent down when the roster gets a little bit healthier. Maybe one or two get sent down, but they're all celebrating each other because they played together throughout the minor leagues. So I think that's really cool to see them come up to the major league level and have this success.
100%. And I know in Pittsburgh, I obviously do a lot of radio shows, and I'm asked about this, and people ask, why should anybody care about the Pirates? Why does this season matter? And my answer that I generally give is some version of what you saw on TV. You're going to see Bligh Madris make his MLB debut. You're going to see Jack Suwinski and Cal Mitchell get opportunities. What can they do with them? Before this season, I had no idea Jack Suwinski could be the type of player that he's been at the major league level.
Neither could we. Neither did we.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's crazy, and he's been really, really good. But that's what this season has been about. You're going to get to watch a whole bunch of Oneil Cruz and see him develop, and they're going to do some stuff that's really dumb. I mean, they're not going to do stuff that's lazy, but they're going to do stuff that just their kids getting an opportunity. But there are also going to be moments like the one we're talking about with, Ziwinski and Bligh. And I love that image you guys are talking about. And Oneil Cruz is right next to them, all 7'6" of him hugging Bligh Madris. It looks like he's hugging his kid.
Yes.
But I mean, it's phenomenal, and it's fun. And you in Pittsburgh, you tweet that stuff and you talk about that stuff and you write that stuff, and people gobble it up. They don't want to hear about Josh Van Meter and Kevin Newman and Yoshi Sugo and all these also-rans that, are on the fringe of the roster. They want to see the kids, and they're willing to accept the kids being not that good, but you also get some cool, exciting moments.
Yeah.
I think Ziwinski and Cal Mitchell are especially interesting because, Oneil Cruz and some of their other top prospects get a lot of headlines as they come up through the minors, but Ziwinski and Mitchell seem like guys that may have been forgotten about as the minor league seasons got canceled in 2020 because of COVID. Those guys who are fringe prospects and, don't get the headlines of the top guys, but in a rebuild, a team needs those B and C level prospects, a few of them to emerge. And it looks like, Ziwinski leads all NL rookies in home runs, right?
He does.
And then he was really good last year in the minors.
Yeah.
And he's a former 15th, 16th round pick or something. He wasn't a high level draft pick. I think Mitchell was third round. But he was also a guy that I think 2020 kind of, moved him off the radar. And I know he's quieted down a bit after what was a really good start to his major league career. But those two kind of players are really interesting to me, and the kind of thing that an organization needs to take that next step. You have the big time prospects that graduate and you expect them to become stars, and that's great. But you also need depth, and I don't know. I mean, the Pirates have a long way to go. It's probably going to be a couple of years before this is really a contending group, but this isn't really a question. I've just been really impressed with the Ziwinski and Mitchell types.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And they need guys like that. It's funny how this stuff works, though. I've covered them since May of 2019, and all of these trades that they make, you get varying degrees. People want to grade them immediately and say, oh, they lost this, they won this, oh, this is terrible. And the stuff always changes. They trade Josh Bell, and everybody was all excited over Eddie Yean. This kid they got that Pipeline had in the top 10. He's this big Dominican prospect. I don't even know if Eddie Yean is playing the affiliated ball right now. And that's nothing against Eddie Yean. It's just stuff changes so much. Yeah. Will Crow was an also-ran starting pitcher that were Will Crow outside of today has been a really, really good reliever for them.
Yeah.
Jack Suwinski and Tucupita Marcano came over in the Adam Frazier trade. Right. People around here were furious about the Adam Frazier trade. Ben Cherington didn't get enough. He was terrible. What did he let Adam Frazier go for? And now we're seeing what he let him go for, and people are all of a sudden singing the praises of the Adam Frazier trade. It's just been such a level in patience and in this stuff being nonlinear. You just can't predict some of these guys clicking. Right. Cal Mitchell, for instance, just to talk about him for 1 second, he was not put on the 40-man roster this offseason. That ticked him off quite a bit, and he basically had to show the organization, look, I'm worthy of a spot. I'm going to stick this to you. I'm going to play with a little bit of an edge. And he did. And right now, he responded as well as you could have a kid his age respond. And he's gotten himself into the big leagues. That stuff isn't quantifiable. There's no metric for that. There's no ranking system for that. And so that's been really cool to see this stuff sort of come out of nowhere.
So we could probably spend 30 minutes talking about Oneil Cruz. We're not going to do that, but obviously he's the hot topic of the week, really across baseball, but in fantasy baseball as well. And he was already a bit of a StatCast darling in the brief time he was up late last year. I think he only played, 3 games or 2 games?
Two.
But really, he's picked up from where he's left off so far, hitting rockets, making incredible throws, showing off elite sprint speed. He had that diving play today with another rocket to first base.
That was incredible.
Yeah. And, there's been a lot of debate about his ability to stick at shortstop, but I think he's sort of answering those critics already.
Yeah, his defense has been really good. And that was something we asked Derek Shelton about after today's game. I actually wrote a story about it as well. That's been such a topic for all of the beat writers, for anybody covering the minor leagues, for the farm director, all this stuff. How is Oneil Cruz developing? Is he going to stick at shortstop? Where is he ultimately going to land? Can he play the outfield? Does he want to play the outfield? All these different storylines and, a series of Oneil Cruz games. Obviously that's not a season, but there's nothing glaringly deficient about his defense. I'll say that. I've also seen Oneil play probably a dozen times between the minors and the majors. And I've never seen anything that was ooh, he really needs to work on that. That's awful. It's just consistency. He'll have games where he just looks, sloppy or not lazy. That's the wrong word, but, isn't entirely as focused as you might like somebody to be. He just looks like a kid. He just he has some growing up to do, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. But I'm curious if this hasn't helped him turn a corner. And, another sort of storyline that we deal with in Pittsburgh is, the staying at shortstop, how much he wants to stay at shortstop, the organization wanting him to try a new position, and Oneil basically saying, I'm going to show you that I can stick at shortstop. And I think it's fascinating in that context what he's done already, because he's shown them so far. Yes, 4 games. Let's qualify it with that. But if for some reason this would continue, we wouldn't worry in the least about Oneil Cruz staying at shortstop. He's been more than capable. He's been downright fascinating to watch.
He's really big over there. He looks he sticks out on the screen. But there have been big shortstops in the past. Cal Ripken Jr. was not a small guy. Carlos Correa is not a small guy. Alex Rodriguez. Yeah. And so I would think they just might as well keep him there as long as he looks okay. And really he looks fantastic right now. He's so athletic, and maybe that focus will kind of shift as he becomes a professional Major League Baseball player. Maybe he starts to take it more seriously, or just, develops a bit more of a baseball IQ and knows when he can kind of relax and knows when he has to turn on the jets. And I'm sure that kind of stuff will come. I think he would probably make a great outfielder too.
Yeah.
If they wanted to put him out there, but yeah, he looks the part. I wonder about, did you get any sense? I know he struggled the first 3 weeks at AAA to begin the year. And do you think there was some frustration that he didn't make the opening day roster and he carried that with him, or is that just kind of a silly narrative?
No, I think that's real.
Yeah,
I really do. He was not happy. I can tell you that from going to Indianapolis. I made a trip there in May and talked to him, and just seeing I forget what his quote was, but I'll never forget his face. It looked like somebody set off some sort of smell bomb or something. And it was oh, when you ask him about going down, he just didn't want to go down. He didn't feel like he should have gone down, and I think he has a reasonable case.
Yeah.
And he's never openly said, yes, that screwed with my head, but there's enough context clues there. Like, I think he was upset. I don't think he felt like he deserved that. He was probably feeling sorry for himself and probably questioned himself a little bit. And, good for him. He has battled his way out of it, and he's been really good since.
Well, Cespedes Family Barbecue had a great tweet today. They said Oneil Cruz has single-handedly vaulted the Pirates from bottom 10 to top 10 in the unofficial MLB TV watchability rankings. And
no doubt.
In a way, I agree. That's what it's about. I mean, baseball is entertainment, and that's certainly there, and he adds to that. But winning is the goal here in the long term. From watching what you've seen from Cruz in the past, what we've seen in this short sample here, what kind of ceiling do you think he has as the Pirates try to climb back to respectability? Like, can he be a superstar? Because
Yes.
I see that.
Yes, 100%. 100% superstar. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't know. It would be hard to give you an answer on what his ceiling is because I don't think I see one.
Yeah.
I see a kid who has just an ungodly amount of power. I've never seen somebody swing like that. Certainly not in Pittsburgh. I'm sure in other markets they would give you a better comp. But based on the talent we've seen run through here, I mean, we were talking about this, I forget with whom, but, in terms of purely talented Pirates prospects, not productivity, like obviously Kutch in recent years is going to trump that, but, pure skills. Is there anybody better than this kid? And I don't think so. I mean, you watch him throw and what he can do with his arm. You watch him run and how fast he is. You watch his power. He's an absolute freak. There's no reason this kid can't be a superstar. And I like his temperament. There's a little bit of an edge to it, a little bit of a cockiness, but it's all in a good way. You see teammates react to him. They don't react that way to people who are jerks. Yeah. He's a very good teammate. He's a very good person, but he believes in himself. And you give this kid some opportunity, let him grow into his position, into his body. This could be the start of something really, really special with this kid.
I saw from him. Sorry, Drew.
Yeah, I think he just went 10th overall to the Pelicans.
Hey, he could probably be tight end in the NFL. He could play power forward in the NBA. He could do anything. He's that kind of freak athlete for sure. But one quote I saw from him on Monday, he said, "You're going to see a lot of balls hit hard and a lot of balls traveling very far."
Yep.
I love that.
Well, man, the exit velocities and the sprint speed, if you're talking about fantasy ceiling, this is 30-30 stuff, right?
Yep.
And there's not a ton of swing and miss there either for how big he is. I mean, there's a little bit of strikeout in there, but not to the level that, for some prospects who have been ranked above or around him or right below him. I think he's the total package, and there will be, he's not going to be like a Juan Soto probably where it just happens for him right away. Those kind of players are very rare, but he's got all the tools to be like a first round fantasy draft pick in the coming years. I think from what I see, and especially with the supporting cast around him improving too. I mean, he just looks a lot more attractive.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to learn to make adjustments at this level too. Even from Monday until today, we're seeing him pitch differently. He's not going to see many fastballs because of what teams know that he can do with them. Yeah. And he's either going to have to take breaking pitches and work counts more or just crush them too. He's definitely a fastball heavy swinger, but again, we saw this with Ziwinski a lot. He came out, was really, really good. The league adjusted to him, and credit to Jack, he adjusted back really well. And we'll see what Oneil does. I mean, the book is going to get out on him. But again, if we're talking about a kid that has the physical tools to do it, the temperament, all this stuff, it is absolutely there.
So with Roansy Contreras, just 22 years old, to see what he's doing in the majors right now, 2.89 ERA, 38 strikeouts in 37 and a third innings. Really great stuff too. Mid to high 90s fastball. A slider, which as far as, getting swings and misses is right up there with, some elite pitchers as far as the swing and miss rate on that. He's basically up there with Edwin Diaz as far as elite with that slider. Do you think he could be that kind of top of the rotation anchor for the Pirates moving forward?
No, I do. And I think they're counting on him to be that too. Yeah. Not right now. I think he's still getting his legs under him. He's, like you said, very, very young, only 22. But one of the things that impresses me so much about Contreras, and we don't see this much with pitchers here because of sort of the section of the store that the Pirates tend to shop in. But like, if you watch elite pitchers, these guys they might give up a run. They don't give up 5. They don't let it snowball on them. If they have to make some sort of adjustment, do something differently to get back on track, they're able to do it very quickly. They're able to self-correct. Rowe does that. He does that within an inning. And he's just, he'll give up a run, but very rarely is he going to give up multiple or just be in an outing where he's completely lost. It might be shift my plan from A to B to C. But it's just like, you watch this kid pitch and like, you're really 22? You don't pitch like a 22-year-old. You don't act like a 22-year-old. I mean, obviously the stuff is really good, but I guess what I'm trying to say is like my biggest impression of him so far has just been how mature he is in his approach, how much he understands himself, how much he is able to actually pitch instead of just throwing.
Speaking of that, I've been impressed with Mitch Keller recently. I mean, he's a guy that DJ and I have talked about as like a sleeper for many years now. And I mean, I haven't looked up his stats, but like over the last 5 or 6 outings, I think he spent a little time in the bullpen, but since he's returned to the rotation, I think he's been really good. Have you talked with him or people around the Pirates about some adjustments that he's made to possibly take that next step?
Yeah, so this has been a fascinating story with these guys. Like Mitch Keller obviously was their top prospect at one point. A lot of people expected him to be really good. He wasn't, and he's been really bad at times. He was sent down to the minor leagues last year. There's been a lot said and written around here comparing him to Tyler Glasnow, and just he hasn't been able to figure it out with the Pirates. He's going to have to go somewhere else to do it. Fast forward to this year. The Pirates hired a guy named Dewey Robinson, who was the Tampa Bay Rays pitching coordinator, guru guy. Did some stuff with their development and helping out pitchers with pitching plans and such. Well, he got a hold of Keller and basically said, look, your four-seam fastball isn't good enough. It's not – this is the type of pitch that, it doesn't have the type of ride you think it does, the type of movement. It's not going to miss as many bats. You don't control it as well. You need to have another weapon. And so they worked with him on a sinker, and they unveiled it, I think, 4 starts ago. And Mitch has been throwing a sinker ever since he got back into the starting rotation. I believe that lines up correctly, but I know.
Yeah, it does. I pulled up his game log. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I think over his past 4, if you look at that real quick, I think his ERA is like 2.5, maybe 2.54.
2.42.
2.42. It's off by a little, but no, I mean, he's been a completely different pitcher. He's throwing strikes. He's confident. He's challenging guys. He's ahead in the count. He's actually putting guys away instead of throwing an 0-2 curveball over the middle of a plate. Like he has confidence in that sinker to throw it low in the zone and actually get a ground ball with it. It's been remarkable. This is the first time I've covered all of Mitch's career, and I've worried a lot about his future for that time until right now. Like Mitch can absolutely continue doing what he's doing. He's been really, really good for that.
Yeah, and the sinker, he's getting the ball on the ground. He has a 53% ground ball rate during those 4 starts too. So, even though the control still, comes and goes, and he hasn't missed as many bats, but if he's putting the ball on the ground with the defense that the Pirates have, that could be a good combination, obviously. So we have a little bit more to get to before the end of the show, but before we do, just a quick word for our listeners. Weekends are better with MLB Sunday leadoff coverage presented by Uber Eats. Catch the Mets take on the Marlins in Miami this Sunday, June 26th at 11:30 Eastern, live on Peacock. To learn more, go to peacocktv.com/MLB. And if you want a chance to win $25,000 on the game, download the NBC Sports Predictor app, powered by PointsBet, and enter Sunday's free Grand Slam Pick'em contest. So we talked about a lot of players who've made an impact on this roster in a short amount of time. Diego Castillo was another one who came up early on in the season, and was a pretty good prospect for them coming into the year. Had some success out of the gate, struggled a little bit after that. He's sidelined right now. We'll see. There's a lot of talent up the middle for the Pirates. Tucapito Marcano, who you mentioned a little bit earlier. Briefly, we got a look the other day at Leover Peguero. I think that was more like out of necessity that he came up. I think he only played one game before going down.
Yep.
But he's a really exciting player as well. Who are some names that, fantasy managers who maybe might not be fully aware of the Pirates system as far as this next wave of players? Who should they look out for?
Well, I don't know if this would fall into the category you're talking about, but I'll be interested to see what happens with Michael Chavis. Yoshi Tsutsugo is in AAA right now on a rehab assignment. I do think they're going to give him first base back when he comes back. I think that's going to upset a lot of people, but that's probably going to bump Chavis over to second base. I don't know if that increases positional flexibility. He's certainly not a prospect, but he's having a pretty good year, and he's going to stay in the lineup. As far as next guys up in their farm system, Peguero's one. He's obviously on the 40-man roster. You're right. It was a COVID crunch. Like, he was just the closest one to get here. It's kind of an interesting storyline with him and Cruz both playing shortstop. Like, they need to make a decision at some point who your shortstop of the future is. I would point you to Nick Gonzalez, but he's out, I think, about 2 months now with like a heel injury. Just went down. He was their 2020 first-round pick. So he's somebody I would normally show you, but not quite right now. Their next prospect up is probably a guy that is, he could be a fantasy sleeper, or maybe he's a dud and you don't want to pick him up. I'm not sure. But Ji-Won Bae, I guess it depends on how big your league is. Hitting, I think, 304 for Indianapolis right now. Real good on-base guy, ton of speed, has stolen 30-plus a couple years. He's discovered some power this year and last year. An intriguing prospect, absolutely. Plays second base, shortstop, a little bit of outfield. But when they get a chance to play him, I think they're going to ride, probably see what happens with Yoshi. They might have to play Kevin Newman. Marcano was good before he went out with COVID. But at some point here, I expect them to call Bay up, and he's somebody I'll be keeping an eye on.
I could probably look this up myself, but did Henry Davis get back into the –
He's back into the mix, yeah.
Okay, cool.
He's not hitting a ton at AA, though. He's only like 100-something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's definitely an intriguing long-term guy. With the first overall pick last year. It takes catchers a little while usually to work their way through the minor leagues. I guess we got to talk trade deadline before we let you go, though. And the Pirates are really exciting right now. This wave of talent and the next wave to come, but they're going to be active sellers, like, no doubt.
Yeah.
Who do you think goes? I mean, sorry to put you on the spot, but like Jose Quintana, that would make a lot of sense if they can get like a B-level prospect or 2 C-level prospects for him. David Bednar maybe gets tangled.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, stop me.
No. No, it's just funny you bring that up. Like, somebody wrote that they were going to trade Bednar, or they should trade Bednar or something like this. And it started this like firestorm of, like every radio hit I did, they're asking me like, are they going to trade Bednar? And like, no, they're not going to trade Bednar. I mean, I suppose they can. Like, if somebody makes them a ridiculous offer, it's not like it's a blanket no.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody's going to be dangling 2 top 50 prospects for Bednar. And he's from Pittsburgh. I don't know how much you guys have been to Pittsburgh. Like, it's a weird place. We love our own. Anybody who embraces Pittsburgh culture, like, you are one forever. It's like this weird, Polish gang. But I mean, you can't trade it. It's just not, you can't do it unless you get some absolutely insane return. But Quintana's a for sure. He's on an expiring deal, $2 million. He's been pitching really, really well. They can get something for him. Absolutely. It's like the Tyler Anderson plan last year with what they did. Before this recent stretch where he went out with a hamstring injury, I would have said Ben Gamel is somebody that would get something back for them. I think he profiles as a nice 4th outfielder on a contender. I still think they'll try to move Gamel if they can. Any of these veteran guys that they're bringing back, like Van Meter's not going to fall into that category. Jake Marisnik's not going to fall into that category. Yoshi probably isn't going to fall into that category, but anybody who's playing reasonably well that they can get something for. Maybe Chris Stratton pushes himself into that category. I could see them trading. I can't see them doing it with Bednar. He's only in his 2nd year.
Yeah.
Contract wise, he's set up to be affordable. He's really good. Obviously there's a tie to the city here. The Pirates have ticked off their fan base so much over the past 4 or 5 years. They cannot do it again. They cannot afford that.
Yeah, especially during a time when there's actually some excitement. You wouldn't want to snuff that out. And the same goes for like listening on Brian Reynolds.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You got to get your 2 cents on Brian Reynolds. Right? Yeah.
I would trade Reynolds before I trade Bednar. I wouldn't trade either one of them, but I can at least understand Reynolds. If you've got Cal and Ziwinski, and maybe you're going to try Oneil there. Travis Swagger, he's a first-round pick in AAA. Right. Bligh Madris has been good. Kanan Smith-Njigba is an outfielder on the 40 that currently is hurt. I mean, they at least have options there. Again, I'd be looking to extend Brian Reynolds. I think he is, like a top 10 in the National League player whenever he's at his best. He hasn't been for a lot of the season, but like is capable of being that. You should be building around that guy. But I mean, if I have to pick one, him or Bednar, like Reynolds is an easy choice.
Yeah, but Reynolds got off to a bad start this year, but he's been great this month, I think, including today, he's hitting 364 with 5 home runs this month. So that's good to see. And hopefully fantasy managers were patient with Reynolds as well. Yeah. But so this was great, Jason. Thanks so much for coming on the show. Definitely hope you have you back at some point. And, it's just really exciting to see the Pirates relevant and getting this national attention.
Yeah, it's nice. I agree. From my perspective, it's nice to see people talking about those guys. So thank you guys for having me on. I'm happy to do it anytime.
I'm from St. Louis, so I get the Pittsburgh thing, like these post-industrial towns that are kind of like, no one really wants to move here. Everyone that lives here is like from here. But we like the stuff that we have, and we like that things are cheap, and we like weird ingredients on things like French fries on sandwiches and Provel cheese on pizza, and like, so I get it.
Man, I love St. Louis.
Yeah.
Seriously, it is a top 5 road city for me. People think I'm insane for saying that. I absolutely love it, man. You guys do it right. You have great baseball coverage. Post-Dispatch is one of my favorite reads out of town. Like, I just love coming to St. Louis.
Awesome. Thanks so much for doing it.
Thanks again, Jason.
Guys. Have a good night.
If you like what you're hearing with this show, Circling the Bases, make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review if you don't mind. 5 stars, always appreciated. Follow us on Twitter if you don't already. I'm at DJ Short. Drew is at Drew Silva. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for all the latest fantasy and sports betting advice from NBC Sports Edge. And don't forget to sign up for NBC Sports Edge Plus to get the best-in-class draft guides, as well as season-long fantasy, DFS, and sports betting tools that will give you the edge.